Well, hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner of the internet. If it's your first visit here, you are most welcome. If you're a returning visitor, you too are most welcome. And if you subscribe to my channel, thank you very much. And also thank you very much for the likes that are left for videos, any videos. I try to make a video every day, but there may be some days where I miss for various reasons. Today was a bit of a hit or miss one because I'm feeling the pressure of needing to get adorable dogs done. But I'm also aware that I need some time to come around in the morning to get my muscles working, my hand-eye coordination in, and this is quite a nice way of doing it. So it's nearly 9 o'clock in the morning. I had quite a disturbed night's sleep again, simply because I have female things, sorry, menopause beginning, hot flushes. I wake up in the night way too hot, even though I haven't got the heating on. It's quite cold in my house, and I'm still waking up with hot flushes, hot sweats, and it takes me ages to cool down enough to go back to sleep. So anyway, less of that. Here, and anybody who's of my age or my time in life will understand this if they're female. You'll eventually calm down, I'm sure. Okay, so this is where I left yesterday, and I haven't drawn another one of these. I thought, right, I am going to work with the it's these two here, which aren't opposite one another. So I've done that, but I'm going to work on the middle, because what I've decided I'm going to do here is I'm going to use, this is an 02 black micron, and I think this morning I'm just going to work with perhaps just the middle sections of this, because my ability to edit video and take out bits that perhaps aren't all that necessary is not the best. So perhaps over the next couple of days I'll do this. I'm sort of trying to work out what it is I want to do with patterns to fill these sections, and I'm not really quite sure, though. As I was looking at this, I thought it would be nice to take these sections and just aura them, and see where that leads me, because I do like a well-defined space to work within. Don't get me wrong, these are very well-defined spaces to begin with, but this kind of leaving this tiny gap and border helps to separate out these sections as well. I feel I could be getting fractal here if I'm not careful, or perhaps that's my intent. I, like many millions of people, fell in love with fractals excuse me, when they first appeared. Was it back in the 90s, when computers had become sophisticated enough, computer art had, to be able to show these computer generated graphics, and they were wow. And one time actually, my round the board, I think it was a whiteboard at the time, I think we'd moved away from chalkboards just, or perhaps I still had a chalkboard. Yeah, I still did. So it's before we even had computers in the classroom, really, except for computer studies. And I'd bought a postcard set, or postcard sets of all of these beautiful fractal images, and I don't know where I bought them. So long ago I can't remember, but I actually created a frieze around my board of all these beautiful images, and I absolutely loved it. So much so that when I was upgraded to a dry whiteboard, a whiteboard, I kept all of these lovingly and reapplied them, and when I was moved rooms, they went with me as well. And there in that room I actually had I think I know I had, when I moved over there, I had a super duper computer. I'd had one in my other room. The head we had at the time insisted that I have a computer before many others, because he knew I'd make use of it in teaching and in other ways. And when I moved, I know I had a brand new computer which he wouldn't let me have until I'd moved to my new room and it had been made secure. And I got a sneaky suspicion I also had a projector. Don't think I had an interactive whiteboard at that time, because I don't think they came in. But the projector was incredibly useful. And opened up things in a way that perhaps education in a way we hadn't quite expected. And it was fab. So yeah, so even then, when I moved to that room, I actually took my Mandelbrots and they were put up on a wall somewhere. Mandelbrot's fractals, because they were just lovely, and they always sparked off a conversation with new pupils, in particular the students who hadn't been in my room before. What's that? What are those? How do they make them? And my understanding of them is pretty limited in terms of the maths, because maths is not my strongest skill when it comes to science. But it's always a lovely thing to do. One thing I found, because I taught pupils with extra or additional learning needs, as they're called now, special educational needs, and I discovered that they really loved, at the start of a lesson, coming in, and on my board, projected on my board, were a set of 4 images, and we'd play odd one out, or which ones are the same and why. And there would never be one correct answer, because I'd always say, if you can give me a really good reason why, you're correct. It may not be, the scientific answer I may be looking for, but you're thinking. And because they knew that there was no absolute correct answer, as long as they gave me a valid reason, just about everybody in the class would have a go. Even my support staff, the adults who worked with these children one-to-one or in small groups, and they'd be just as keen to take part. And it was wonderful to see them having that kind of confidence and ability to just say things. And obviously, the pictures weren't just random. They were built into the theme of what we were learning about. So if we were doing, biology, so, classification of animals with, mammals, fish, birds, reptiles and amphibians, then we'd have the pictures would have these there, you know, in a way that you could group them in different ways sometimes, or you could say which one was the odd one out and why. That one's the odd one out because it's a bird, it's got feathers, the others haven't got feathers, or the others have got fur and things like that, or that's a predator, or that's a carnivore, the others aren't, you know, that's a herbivore. And it was absolutely fascinating to, you know, as they got used to sharing scientific information and having a go at the science, it was amazing how they came along just through a simple game, not being afraid to get things wrong. So it wasn't wrong as long as they gave a valid reason. So here we are. This is getting more and more complex, isn't it? Fractal. Fractals are where a pattern is repeated constantly in smaller and smaller spaces. So with that kind of idea, I'm going to do a fractal, but I'm not going to make these shapes, well, they will go down in some of these sections to a size that I could work in. But I am going to, do you know what, I didn't pay any attention to the direction I wanted these to go in, so I'm going to have them going in the same direction around in each of these groups of 3. So yeah, so these I'm doing number 9s and 6s rather than P's and D's. So I'll do that one. I'll do the one on the other side of the line, and I am going to mirror these from side to side. So instead of 9 or a 6, this is a 6, I'm going to do a D shape, or this way a P shape. And we'll do it again here. But I'm not going to mirror in the particular shape. I'm going to keep them going in the same direction for lack of not confusing myself totally. And once you've decided which way they're going to go, it's easy to reference one to another. So we've got those. So let's turn this and do the opposite set. Pop all of my little balls in. Okay, now I want to mirror these. So this is it's a P. So here I want a 6, like so. 6s and 9s. So it's going to be 6s and 9s all the way around, without me turning my tile, because it's easy enough to do. And then here, 6s and 9s there, so P's and D's on this side. So a D is going to go this way, there's a P, and that's a D, a lazy D. So it's going to be there and there. I'm just going to turn this one just a little bit. So I want a P. No, I don't literally need a P, the letter P there. There we are. Oh, it doesn't look like I'm getting anywhere with sort of like creating any kind of pattern, even to myself. But what I thought I'd do with these is I am going to 4 of them. And I'm going to do them this way, and I'm not leaving any breaks in these. I'm just going to use solid lines because I need some solid colour here, I think, to start to create a bit more of a pattern. Now, what I do with the others, I don't know yet. But I think this will be a nice start here. Okay. So I'll just do a couple here with you. And then what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to stop. This is my plan. I'm going to stop the video for a moment and do all the others and then come back, because it's pretty much of a muchness, isn't it? As I keep moving, I've got my autofocus lock on. There we are. So that'll be better. So I'll just do perhaps one more and we'll see how this is working. I've got to think now about the other sections around the outside edge, but let's see how this goes on. Just do this one quickly. I'll assess this and see how we're getting on here. This is such an unusual and odd way for me to work. Hope you appreciate that or understand this, because this isn't something I would ordinarily do. But I do have a bit of a love for symmetrical patterns. Right, so you get the idea. So I'm going to go and do the others and come back towards the end of them. So see you in a moment. And here we are now, back again with the very last one of these brown sections. And some of the eagle-eyed of you will notice that I've made a couple of not thinking straight, letting my mind wander off to other things and not paying attention to what I was doing. There's a big one here because I thought, oh, I need to aura this. No, I don't. No, I didn't need to aura it at all. And here I thought I was doing another section there, so I lost the plot in a couple of places. But I'm hoping that they are what they are now, so I'm hoping that when I add some shading to these and highlights, these will just disappear and become part of the pattern. They're so bleeding obvious to me, but that's the brown bits I wanted to do. I've got a feeling I'm going to keep these fairly brown, and these ones here, I think I'm going to keep them black so that the outside is quite a contrast to the inside. And I don't know whether I want to aura these as I would have echoing these, or whether I want to do, I think I might do them in this way so they look that little bit different. So I'm starting from the pointiest end, splitting it roughly into half, and then auraing on either side. I just find it a lot easier to do that, because I just think that this will break everything up. And again, I'm using solid lines, I'm not breaking them up. I think given me and doing this, it's going to be enough for me to focus on what I'm doing here. I think the problem here is that everything is so much similar and the same. It becomes repetitive, familiar, and if you're not careful, the focus on the process goes. I had a lovely time yesterday evening. I had to sleep in the afternoon because I hadn't had enough sleep. Now that's the longest one. But really it should be, I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to not worry too much about whether I'm spiraling these around. I'm not, am I? Because here and here I've got opposing ones. I'm just going to work on it. It's just going to be a matter of adding shadow. Perhaps though, let's put in cross hatching instead. Just simple lines. So that may actually work then. It disguises it a bit more, that it's not so obvious that I may have not paid attention to swirling these lines in a consistent way around that central orb, circle, blob thing. So yeah, so yesterday afternoon I fell asleep. I was having a break and I just fell asleep, didn't I? Not literally nose down on my desk, but I'd headed off downstairs to watch a little bit of television to have a break from the screen. I just nodded off, and before I knew it, nearly 2 hours had gone. So it's a vicious circle when I don't sleep at night, and I then fall asleep in the day, which means that I don't sleep so well at night, or I don't get to bed quite as early as I would like in the night. But so I don't know whether that affects my sleeping. But when I woke up, it was late-ish, and I just thought, oh, what am I going to do here? So I've been looking at illuminated manuscripts, medieval, Anglo-Saxon manuscripts like the Book of Kells, Lindisfarne Chronicles, and so many others. It's amazing that so many books have, survived from these times, considering that they weren't mass-produced like they are today. They were individually hand-drawn by scribes in monasteries and so on, and abbeys, and were very precious items because they would, be a lifetime's work to say, copy the writing of the Bible, but also to add all of these beautiful, beautiful, glorious coloured decorations and paintings. And they are beautiful. And when you look at them, just as a whole page, how beautiful they are. But it's when you zoom in and take a look, you can see all the imperfections and I'm not going to say mistakes, because I didn't see mistakes like my big boo-boo anywhere. But I guess they're, oh, I was going to do that all the way around. Right, okay, let's paint all of these red and draw something on the top. Because that's an option as well, is that I could decide to do something like that. But I need an opaque medium to do that with. And I don't have any opaque media that I could, I do have some old gouache downstairs. But my skills with the brush, and I don't particularly like gouache. I've heard it pronounced all kinds of ways over the years. It can be a bit thick, and it dries really quickly-ish. It's not my favourite thing. You can draw on it though. I don't like acrylics. I still have some acrylics here, I think, but so that would have been an option, or using metallic paints, because I do have some metallic gouache in pots. So that could have been an option if, it still may be, given my clumsiness there. But I'm just going to leave it as it is for now and see what happens. Because if nothing else, this is something to learn from and to build on. I may have chosen to repeat these patterns just that bit too much here, possibly. Goodness knows what I did there. I think I went from a completely different corner to what I've been doing. It'll be fine. I'll go and tidy those lines up now in a moment. Now in a minute. As we say here in the valleys. Some of them have got gaps that are just that little bit too big. That'll tidy it up a bit. Into the last ones. These seem to take a lot less time than the brown ones did. I think it's simply, it's the largest swooping lines, I think, that we have here. I'm trying to not let the inconsistencies I can see and the boo-boos I've made here bother me, though they do. But again, I can use this just as a proof of concept, if you like, to see whether I like what I'm doing here. And then perhaps another day it could be created anew, hopefully without the boo-boos. But after all, it's just paper and pen and a bit of time. But yeah, so to go back to the medieval illuminated manuscripts and letters and so on, the detail they got into them was absolutely amazing, and the patterns they use is a huge source of inspiration, but also the way that colour was used. And these are things that I have loved for as long as I can remember, from the first time I saw them, because they are just so beautiful. The Book of Kells and the Lindisfarne Chronicles, Lindisfarne Gospels, really do draw on early Celtic art, and Celtic knotwork and things like that. But their use of colour is just absolutely outstanding. It's amazing. So there we are. We've got all of this done. Now then, how do I add shadow? I think I may go back, because I tried using a pen the other day, didn't I? And I wasn't very happy with that. So let's go back to using a matte graphite pencil. I am tempted perhaps to use, I'll leave that there. Ew, let me get those very quickly. Ugh. I am going to use chalk pastels because they will give me that lovely, they'll add colour, but I can spread them out. They'll add shadow, but I can spread the colour out so I get that lovely gradient. And I think with these, I am just going to do these around the edge. Let me have a look and see how that works. So I'm choosing a colour here that tones in with that pen work, because I know full well I'm going to end up with, that one's fairly clean. Just going to gently work this into the paper where I've put it, just on the edges. And leave around the ball highlighted. There's not a lot of space here to do much really here, I have to say that. But I know that if I overspill a little bit, it'd be better if I had a harder, pointier one of these. And this is the question, have I got a harder, pointier one? I don't know. I think I might have to get a new one out. Use this. I did sharpen my chalk. This is a Carbothello by Stabilo. I'm just going to try to keep that middle bit fairly light, but it's going to be very difficult. So let me have a look here. I also have to decide what I'm going to do with the regions around these, the borders, because there's a lot of them, and as lovely as these little sections are, I think I may need to bring these sections together somehow. Not quite sure how. So I was saying about the medieval manuscripts, their use of colour is amazing, because they didn't have the range of colours that is easily available to us today, and they had to make their own paint. They couldn't just go to a hobby store or an art shop and go, "Oi, Have you got, you know, an indigo blue, please? It was, they mixed their own. They used, you know, minerals and other pigments, and would grind them up with binding agents, egg and so on. And they'd make their own ink by boiling things from nature. We use lamp soot and burnt bone for black, you know, all kinds of things. And so there was an art in doing that. But the way that they were used, and the way that undercolour was used, and then a pattern drawn on the top in white or in gold, it's absolutely beautiful. But it's only when you look at things and try to work out how they did something that you really have an appreciation, I think, or I really gained an appreciation for the skill and artistry, but also not just looking at the beauty of them, but also the methodology or the ways they could do them. It's got me thinking, how can I make use of this in my art? Absolutely beautiful stuff. So my Pinterest has been, you know, my illuminated manuscripts board over on Pinterest is now bulging slightly. I'm sure it will bulge further. I also know I do have some beautiful books in my house, reproductions of, like the Book of Kells, and I will definitely be taking a closer look at those. A lot of these beautiful manuscripts are in museums, but are still kept in churches and abbeys. I remember seeing some at Malmesbury Abbey, which is in Wiltshire, I think. Stopped there on my way to a weekend away because it's a Romanesque abbey, and I wanted to go and see the Romanesque architecture and I was going to spend some time sketching there, but it was an absolutely deuced cold day in January, and I also had to be at the hotel I was staying at because I was away with a group of people I know, and I was very conscious that they knew that I was stopping, but I knew they'd worry if I arrived too late after dark, and I did leave in darkness from Malmesbury. I said I will go back there. Over the main door, the entrance there's a beautiful tympanum with angels on. In fact, those angels were the ones that I used as an inspiration for artwork when I was doing my A-level, I think it was. A-level or AS, I can't remember which now. Chalk pastels and drawings and clay sculpture, but also oil paintings. Because I had no class that afternoon as well. And I said what I wanted to do. I asked permission of the heads. I said, look, I'm going off to Cricklade this weekend. I don't have a class Friday afternoon. Is it possible for me to go lunchtime-ish? I want to go to Malmesbury Abbey and get some reference material for my A-level art, which he was incredibly supportive of me doing. And he said, yeah, carry on. Yep, you're doing, you know, education studies, you know, doing a bit. Yeah, I haven't got a problem as long as everything's done. Yeah, everything's done. You know, not avoiding work type thing. It was absolutely fantastic. So that has helped a lot to bring out that. Now then, I'm looking for the indigo blue I particularly like here. Oh, it is. Because I think indigo blue on the black would darken these a fair bit. I'm trying to work out how I'm going to do this because I've got long thin points in all directions. Let's just go with it. I'm going to use the same tortillon, so the first couple I'm going to get some brown mixed in, which is fine. I think what I want to do here, though, more than anything, is just add some shadow to the whole of it, because I think it would go that way, but I've got everything pointing all in the wrong direction. I really didn't pay attention to the direction that these were going in. I said I just want to darken them all up. I still want those lines to show, otherwise I might as well not have bothered putting them in. But I think it'd be quite nice. You can see how much brown there was still left on this tortillon. It's going to be fairly consistent because it seems that I've picked the sharpest point to draw the lines out from rather than the logical one, or the, you know, the symmetrical one, but it'll be fine in the grand scheme of things. Said it's darkening these out, so perhaps I'd have been better off putting this in the middle. So yeah, so Malmesbury Abbey, absolutely beautiful, some beautiful, beautiful Romanesque there, as well as early English Gothic arches, which are very plain and boring, to be honest with you. Lovely shapes, pointy shapes, but not my kind of thing. They're light, nice, but it was the Romanesque I went there for. I fell in love with it. So much so, I was actually brave enough to go to the cathedral at Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain in Galicia. Gosh, be 18 years ago now, give or take a couple of months, and it was absolutely beautiful. And the allied buildings, the crypt and Archbishop Helmirez's palace as well. Absolutely stunning. And I travelled by myself. I was excited and scared at the same time. I'm not good at languages. I am learning Welsh slowly. And it's taken me the best part of a year to learn a little less than 700 words. It takes a lot of practice. But then I'm, you know, the Welsh lesson I do a day is, you know, it's on Duolingo, and I spend about 15 minutes a day, and it's constant repetition. I haven't made much headway recently because I got a bit stuck with some of the new grammar, syntax, sentences, sentence buildings, you know, tenses, I suppose, and I was beginning to lose the knowledge, or I felt I was losing the knowledge of what I built on. Anyway, back to Malmesbury Abbey. So Malmesbury Abbey had, as well as beautiful Romanesque architecture, they also had some display cabinets with some medieval manuscripts in. And oh my goodness, they were absolutely beautiful. You couldn't take photographs of them because you'd need a flash, because the room was quite dark, and while the cabinets would illuminate while you were there, they would, you know, the light was enough for you to see them, but not really good enough to take a photograph. And you couldn't turn the pages to look at them all, so you could look at what would been opened for that day or that period. But it was lovely. Right then, so I've got to this point with this, and I'm going to leave it here for today because I'm not sure what else I want to do. I feel like I've got a big confusion of lines where I've got aura within aura within aura. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there, whether I'm going to use some patterns to separate them or colour. I don't know yet. I've got to think on that. It's sort of like the mistakes are still visible, but not as much, are they? So there we are. I'm glad I persevered and didn't start all over again, because you live and learn. I think they'd have been less visible if I'd used a darker brown, and that is always an option because I have many shades of brown in the collection. And so it may be that I do go back and use a darker colour just around the edge. I particularly like using chalk pastels. So yeah, so medieval manuscripts are my thing at the moment. It's my break from anything to do with adorable dogs like this is, I suppose, as well, to a degree. And I'm just going to enjoy the process of whatever it is I'm doing. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I will show you very quickly. I may need to readjust my camera, so give me a moment. I'll be back in a mo. Okay, here we are back again. I was drawing this yesterday evening whilst I was looking at the medieval manuscripts and picking out patterns and shapes that I particularly liked. Not all of them were there. There was a core here that I'd already drawn. So I've built out from sort of like these bits here and here and built it out. And I love the way that these patterns are used as a background. This is a lovely one. But others that are very ornate and so on, but I'm able to sort of like take them apart in my head and make use of them. This one is fascinated me in some ways because there isn't a line along the edge, but the pattern itself makes that line, and so it's like having a border within a border. So I've had a lot of fun doing this. So I'm sure that some of these patterns are going to appear in work or in explorations or whatever as I go forward. But absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to leave you with a look at my sketchbook page. This is what I do in the middle of the night as well when I can't sleep. I spent an hour or two adding more to this, which is why some aren't perfectly drawn, because I was sat in bed with it on my lap, bleary-eyed, half asleep. So I'm just going to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending time. I hope you've got some ideas for this. I hope my little tile here that you may draw along and perhaps add different patterns and perhaps avoid my faux pas of not focusing constantly, letting my mind drift off on other things instead of focusing on what I'm doing. But even when you do, there's ways of covering it up. I think I've seen on Zentangle videos where they use, is it Bronx shear, to disguise an error, a mistake, by drawing these little black balls, like the droops you'd get on a blackberry, close together and creating like a little fruit there. But that wasn't something I wanted to do particularly. I wanted to keep this as it is. So thank you so much. I hope you've found some inspiration. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and I will see you again soon. I'm not sure about tomorrow because tomorrow's a busy day in other ways, and I've really got to get the adorable dogs work going really well. But you never know. We'll see. It depends what time I surface in the morning. So take care. Look after yourselves, and whatever else you do, find time to be creative. Bye-bye for now. Bye. Bye.